I feel like that was like the extended intro. But anyway, we're back with another episode. First, the sponsors. Head over to www.johnbartoloshow.com and go check out all the sponsors. I want to thank a few of them now. Gallo Technologies for the walls behind us. Rhino Metals for the tables in front of us. Enforce Weapon Lights. Pulsar. Thermal technologies come down in price. Go check out Pulsar. Special thanks to them. I want to thank Galco Leather Holsters. Ooh, we got the feedback. Hang on. Kill the feedback, sorry. Blackwater Ammunition, CAA USA, Galco Leather Holsters, if I missed them, Volquartsen Firearms. And I want to thank the whole crew that was in here, a little bit of housekeeping. I want to thank the whole crew that was here this past weekend. We went to, and special thanks to Sig Sauer, we visited the UFC. We had a great tour of the UFC, so special thanks to them and Dana White. We had an awesome time at the Francis Ngannou fight. Awesome to see Francis win. He was victorious over Stipe. It's a good time. Local guy. Well, via Africa, right? Via Africa. So appreciated seeing him win. I'm really happy for those guys. Eric Nixick, all the guys down at Extreme Couture. So shout out to them. Got a special guest today that I'm really excited about. We already started getting into it. It was a hot and heavy debate. No, but I'm really excited. I've had my eye on her for a minute to get on the show, and some of you have asked for her. She's a spokesperson for Gun Owners of America, if I'm saying that right. GOA, yeah. The fashionable way. Yeah, GOA. It's the high society way of saying it, right? GOA. And she has a certain, I watched a lot of her stuff. She has a certain charisma about her and a certain way she presents information that I really enjoy. And I'm looking forward to talking with her. We have the one and only Antonia Okafor.
Hello.
So this is exciting.
Yes, thanks for having me.
I'm excited you made the trip.
Oh, yeah.
Honored.
Any excuse to come to Vegas.
Always,
especially
right?
as a pastor's wife. You know, I can't say it. I'm just going to go to Vegas for a day.
Tear it up.
Yeah.
Listen, this is an honor having you. I mean it. So you're a spokesperson for GOA. What is that? Well, let's back up.
Okay.
How the hell did you even get in this business? What do you do? You know, I have this love disdain for this business. What are you doing in this business?
I know. I hate calling it a business, though.
This industry. Industry, the dirty word. Industry.
Oh, that's worse. That's,
I know.
Yeah.
What are you doing advocating for these 2A lunatic? What are you doing?
It took a while. It took a while before I got to even spokesperson status. I'll tell you that. But yeah, I got into this as someone who went from anti-gun, pretty modern feminist in college, to realizing that if I'm going to be a good feminist, then I have to advocate for guns. I have to advocate for the Second Amendment. I have to advocate for the empowerment of myself and particularly other females around me. So
I like that.
That is a very short version of the gist of why I got into this community, I would say. But for the most part, it was 2012, 2013, realizing that here we're talking about rape culture, we're talking about campus sexual assault. I was a college student at the time. And if I really, I'm a sexual assault survivor. And so I've always had this focus, this, I would say this innate feeling in me since I've been young, since I've been a survivor, that first of all, I knew it's going to come down to me to take care of myself. And if something happens again, it's going to be me. But also the fact of the matter is that if I really want to defend myself and defend other people, but particularly other women who are vulnerable, then that realization of, well, I can trust myself and I want to protect myself, then why is it that the only administration-friendly tool that I can use for self-defense is a 911 in my cell phone in one hand, and in the other hand a quote-unquote rape whistle that I got for freshman orientation, right? Why are those the only tools I'm allowed to legally have on campus? So it was that realization of, colleges really believe that you don't have a right to self-defense. It's not just firearms. It's having policies saying that tasers are quote-unquote dangerous weapons, or pepper blasters are dangerous weapons, and not allowing women particularly to defend themselves, but yet talking about as if they had nothing to do with that culture, talking about what happens to a woman after the fact. And I was sick and tired of that conversation always ending, or rather beginning, after someone had been a victim. And so that's kind of what got me more into the Second Amendment, but more importantly, just empowering myself, empowering other women.
Was there like a particular moment where you're like, this is dumb and I really need to advocate for this? Was there like an aha moment, like a specific moment where you had a speaking engagement? Was it something that triggered, I hate to use the word triggered.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry, Donnie. I hate to use the word triggered, but was there something in particular besides being a survivor that you can recall that you were like, wow, this doesn't make sense that we're not allowed to have anything but a whistle?
I think it's always easy to say, oh, this sounds great, like after the fact. But I just remember being on what was like senior year and realizing, we got all of these types of new alert systems. And so I get texts saying like, oh, this person.
Yeah, don't go near the quad.
Right. Yes. This person was assaulted here. This incident happened here. And I just remember late at night, I would get those texts. I was that weird person still on the text system, but I would get those texts of this female was assaulted in the college bathroom. This woman, I remember distinctly, this woman was sexually assaulted in the park just across the street from the university, and things like that. And just realizing, okay, obviously, like a police officer is not going to be there all the time. A campus police officer is not going to be there. In fact, most of the time when I want to use one of those lights that they say, just go to press that light system and a police officer will come and get you. Those things are usually broken most of the time.
The call boxes.
Yeah, the blue call boxes. So I was like, okay, if I really want to talk about, like, I was really involved with domestic violence programs, with sexual assault programs on campus, very big with feminists in that genre. But every time I wanted to bring up, we talk about all these different ways to talk about empowering women, but why is it once we get to the gun aspect of things, why is it when we talk about gun control, like that is for some reason the only way that I can talk about gun ownership and it comes to feminism. And so that pushback that I got from other feminists around me of stopping me from having that conversation is where I really decided to have more of a conversation that led me to that kind of rabbit hole of, oh, like this is on purpose. This is not meant to help me get to this conclusion that I can defend myself. So yeah. It
is super strange to me. I would have thought that the feminist movement and the LGBTQ plus HIJKLMNOP community, all I want to include everyone. I'm not trying to be a wise guy. All inclusive would be supporters of the second. You would think, right? Because
yeah.
I don't know. Like what I'm trying to maybe figure out with you is when that brainwashing came in, that they were against it. That's what I can't figure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out because never has there been a community that has probably dealt with more pushback, more bullying, more assault, more deadly situations.
Yep. Pulse.
In the last 20 years.
Yeah.
So I would have thought that they would be pro. Right? Like you would think. Am I missing like a segment of history I should have tuned into, or are they just like peace, love, and happiness?
Well, and that's the thing is that if you actually study your history, right? I mean, you've had Madre on, you've had, I'm sure, gun control is racist. I mean, that's not just some fun saying. Like that's the dark history of not just African Americans, but of women, of any vulnerable group, any oppressed or ostracized group. Those who are the oppressors have used firearms to oppress. I mean, it's pretty simple. And so even if you looking at the feminist history of things, and I was a student of history, I'm a nerd that way, the more I would delve into that conversation, the more I realized historically, not only as a woman, but particularly as a Black woman, that it was it was most beneficial for me to defend myself with a firearm. And you know what? Other Black women who tend to be unfortunately ostracized in the big movement of feminism, they actually are usually pro gun ownership more so than their white female counterparts in the modern right mainstream feminist movement. So a lot of that helped me realize that, like, yeah, if I'm an African American female and and if I had a different sexual orientation, I don't, but then I would benefit the most. And historically, I have benefited the most by carrying a gun with me. So that's what it really came down to.
It makes sense to me. I mean, you would think, but I mean, I guess I asked the question one part to get the answer I got, so the audience understands, and one part because you would think that, you genuinely would think that. I think somewhere along the way there was a cleansing, or somebody came up with some talking points that drove that initiative within that infrastructure of that organization, whatever that organization was, that we have to be this. I have a theory as it pertains to those groups especially. I think there's a lot of closeted gun owners within those groups, more so than almost any other group.
Are you saying they have rights for thee, but not for other people?
Yes.
Yes, not for you, but for me. Yeah,
I absolutely think that it's kind of like, there's always been that saying, the friends of Lincoln, right? So there's like these closeted, pro 2A people that don't come out. And we're seeing that in segments of Hollywood too. So you start to become an advocate, and I saw some of that, as far as college campuses go and being able to carry on campuses. But we're losing that battle viciously, aren't we, in terms of being able to carry on campus? That's something that's a hard one to overcome, because these colleges are so woke that you just can't you can't overcome it. They just don't believe that anyone should have the ability to carry or the right to carry.
Well,
am I right in saying that?
Well,
I mean, am I off? You know better than me, especially on campuses.
The campus carry movement, and I got involved with that. I became a leader in that shortly after, because I was sick and tired of not having the ability to carry on campus. So as part of that movement, that actually passed in 2015 in Texas after several times of it being pushed aside, actually. So it took a while in Texas for that to actually pass, but shortly after, a lot of other states, I won't say universities, a lot of other states actually passed campus carries. Kind of stalled since then. Other than Montana is actually the most recent one that actually pushed for that. It's kind of going with the constitutional carry movement that's going on right now as well. But Texas, I will say, did pass campus carry earlier. Doesn't have constitutional carry still. But that's another conversation.
Yeah, to me, a lot of those like no guns allowed on campus type laws, or what I would say, I call them signs. Like they're hanging signs. They're toothless laws in so many ways. I mean, one, if you're concealed carrying, who's going to know you have it? Two, if you're concealed carrying properly, let me say that. Two, if you have the right to carry a firearm in the state of, I don't know how that plays out in the legal system because I'm not a lawyer. So, but to me, it seems like that's a very tough one to hang on somebody. If you have a license to carry, and just because someone hung a sign, they're asking you not to carry, but to me, it's always one of those toothless things. Now, that's how I feel. I'm not going to make you answer that, because I don't think you can answer it on behalf of GOA or anything like that, nor would I ask you to. But like, if a McDonald's puts a sign that says, no guns in here, please, like, yeah, you might not go in because it goes against your ethos, but I mean, the McDonald's police going to get you? I mean, I don't know. So it seems a little tough, a hard sell to me. I mean, I guess you could say I would never buy into it. And
being against campus carry, or being against like.
Oh, I would just carry. I just who's going to get me? The whistle cop? I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't worry about it. Yeah, it's to me, it's one of those, like, it's a sign. Like, you went out and you got a state permit that says I can carry in the state of whatever. Insert state. According to the state, they say you can't carry here. If universities aren't listed on it, and it's just the university asking you to me, it's a toothless thing.
Right. I mean,
and I'm not advocating anyone break the law. I'm just saying you have to check, because I know within some of those things, some don't let you carry in a bar, right? That serves alcohol. Some states are that way. Which I get the no drinking and driving, no drinking and operating a firearm with that. There's no arguments here. But there's also the component of, like, not in a state building, not in a federal building, not, things like that. Some don't list campuses, some within their concealed carry laws. And that's where it gets dicey, because it's more the university asking you, right? And that's where it becomes like, who's enforcing that?
Right.
I don't know a cop in America that's enforcing it.
Well, that's the thing, is that GOA is that's at GOA, we are careful. It's not about being law abiding. Right. Because especially now, if you don't get that, there are so many laws that are unconstitutional. But the fact of the matter is we say honest people, right? they're trying to do the right thing. But sometimes the right thing, not being the right thing, the lawful thing is not the right thing. And again, just saying that there's this arbitrary line between, oh, well, you can carry here, but once you get here, you're in
that's
the
what I'm getting at. Yeah,
area. That's you're armed and dangerous. There, the same person. By the way, a lot of ex-military, obviously veterans going into school, using that GI Bill, and then of course they're considered felons if they go on campus with a firearm, something that they obviously know how to use. But so do a lot of other concealed carry permit holders. So yeah, all that to say, and the thing is too, the irony of it and the hypocrisy of it was, they're totally okay with talking about campus culture and campus sexual and rape culture and toxic masculinity and all these things. But when it comes down to, okay, well, if men are toxic, okay, then can we talk about, helping these women like me? So you already said men are toxic, right? So you can't really change that much.
Right.
Other than, seminar is going to change that. So then why don't you empower me?
100%.
No. That's when you're talking about talking points. The talking points, you can go and look at them right now. They're sexist talking points. They're saying that I, as a woman, am not able and not capable to be able to train like another man and actually use it to defend myself. That someone's going to use it against me because I'm a woman. Like, it's insane to me. So,
why is that, though?
It's almost like
who wrote it? Like, why is that?
Almost like there's sexist people,
right?
Who have other agendas involved with coming.
Yeah, I guess I asked the stupid question. Like, why is that? Like, who writes this? It's like the BLM stuff. When you really actually read it, it's like, who wrote this? Right. Like a little kid with crayons, and people actually listen to it. It's crazy. But we all know it's a puppet organization. There's a lot of puppet organizations out there, and they're funded by. Not going to get into that. They're funded by people that don't necessarily want to see certain people perform or do well or excel in society. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I don't understand it because when I look at it, and I certainly don't think I'm the smartest guy in the room by any stretch of the imagination. I'm a rockhead like everybody else. I do have a degree. It says I know something, and I have some pieces of paper that say I know something. But I don't get how people don't read that, and exactly what you just said. It sounds a lot like suppression to me.
But you can't say that.
But you can't say
Especially
that.
since you're a white male.
I'm a white male. I'm doomed. Yeah, I'm dead to rights.
Really, yeah.
I'm not saying I will never say another thing again. Yeah, I'm Italian though, so we get away with a little bit extra. We're a little extra. I'm not a wasp, so we get a little away with a little extra.
Okay, all right.
So
all right, I'll give you that.
So now you kind of forged forward with this with the campus initiative, and I loved reading some of this stuff, especially some old posts, some things I saw, and it's interesting. You become part of the mainstream movement of the industry and a real voice in the industry. And that's along with Maj and some other folks that I'm super excited for. And Maj recently was a cover of Recoil magazine. I was super pumped for him. Yeah. I love that. And I love that about what GOA is doing and some of the different activities and the things you're getting out to and the outreach. It's really what the industry needs, and it's refreshing. And that's why it was so cool not only to have you on, but I had Shemichael on, I had the guys from Guns Out, I had Maj on. I just love seeing these new, fresh, vibrant movements with fresh talking points, a fresh perspective out there in front, and we need more of that. And I wish there was more of that in this industry because I love what you guys are pushing. But it's a messed up industry now, and it's just crazy in so many ways.
The only way that, and I love what they're doing. I mean, I love Maj, and we talk all the time, and he's always like, "See, this is why I do my own thing." Like, as long as he's able to do his own thing, then he can be who. I mean, he can always be who you want. Yeah. I really doubt that anybody is gonna ever pay Maj enough or anything to squelch what he really wants to say. But at the end of the day, though, there are consequences sometimes to putting yourself with a platform that's not yours 100%. So I mean, that's why I encourage people to be independent. You're independent. Like, I'm learning more of that, but I'm thankful we have these people who are not afraid to say what they really want to say. Yeah. And people gravitate towards that.
You're so right. When you're a part of an org or any larger entity for that matter that's paying your bills or supporting you or helping you in any way, you do have to kind of adhere a little bit to their talking points. Now, with that being said, there are some great organizations out there to align with. That's not condemning of any organization. I chose the path ultimately of being having my own flag. And there's reasons for that. I know what needs to be said. And when it's all said and done, I have a feeling that I'm not necessarily someone the industry wants talking the way I talk, but I'm what they need. And the reality is there's a lot of things that need to be cleansed and discussed and opened up and have open conversations. And for a long time, one of those things has been the failure of this industry to be inclusive, which is a huge problem. And I love that, seeing new faces, new groups, hearing about the large population of women coming into the industry, hearing about the large block of minority gun owners coming into the industry and that have been in the industry for a really long time is exciting. And they should have a voice and they should have a place and they should be heard, and everybody should support that. Unfortunately, in some instances, you have a lot of people that adhere to the old way of doing things, even on this side of the wall. And you look at what I'm trying to do, and it's very a similar arc as what I see a lot of other people doing. I'm trying to bring in different genres that we've never looked at before, that we've never said, oh, let's bring these people in because we're an industry dominated by this person needs to look a certain way, needs to be a certain way, needs to be this. Well, we want everybody to go buy a gun.
Right.
We want everybody to have a gun permit.
Do we though?
I think we do.
Let's have that conversation.
So my everybody is everybody that's qualified to purchase one.
Oh, no. I'm not even talking about all that. I'm talking about the industry, and when they say, oh, I think the Second Amendment's for everybody.
Oh, no, absolutely. They don't. Yeah, no, you go into that because I have my thoughts, but I want to hear yours. Yeah, absolutely not.
Yeah, I mean, I got a lot of flack for when I said, hey, yeah, I know like you guys don't like BLM and stuff, but they have a right to be protected too. Oh, whoa, Antonia.
No, you're not wrong.
That's enough. Not the socialists and the communists. It's not like I don't agree. It's not like I agree with them. Obviously, I don't. But do we or do we not believe that everybody should have a right to it? Now, do we have issues with people who are using it in a way and then being hypocritical because they don't vote? They vote against the very right that they take advantage of, right?
Sure.
I think there is, but I don't know. Just the more I've been in this industry, the more like I get in trouble for saying the obvious.
No, I don't. Listen, everybody has a right to have an opinion. Everybody has a right to be heard, and I adhere to the rule of you can't yell fire in a movie theater, right? Like you have to exercise some common sense. It's like the guys that want to walk around and they want to sling the rifle over their back and they just want to walk the street. Well, that's not you're right. You're stupid. Right. I'm okay with that, but you're stupid because you're the first one that's going to get shot if something happens. So I think you're dumb, but I can think you're dumb oh yeah, just put it right over there. Sorry, delivery. I could think you're dumb, and I could still think it's okay for you to have that right, if that's how you choose to use it. Now, this industry is full of a lot of people that don't want you to have the right. They want you to have the right if you adhere to a measurable that they've created, and that's where I have the issue, and that's where I take up the issue. So, our industry is really in a flux right now, and it's going to change. And for a long, this is why I'm so passionate about the movement that's been coming in of people that they're I'm going to say it, they're slightly more intellectual. They can have a conversation, and it's not guys trying to shoot sub 1 seconds on Instagram. And that's not what the industry is about. And people thought for a long time the firearms industry was about putting a costume on, going in their backyard and shooting, some targets. They thought it was about, being the best at something. It's not about those things. It's about exercising a right that we could lose if we don't work together. It's not about who has the biggest penis in the room. It's not about who has it. And that's a problem. That's a systemic problem in this business. And a lot of it has to do with what we identify as the leadership of this business. And that's not what the leadership of this business should be, in my humble opinion. I could take heat for it. I'm sure people would say, and I've said it many times, but I think it's a huge misnomer. It's the only industry, and I've said this on multiple podcasts, and I've said it to you. It's the only industry. Tell me another industry where the person that goes on TV to talk about gun rights, in most cases, is usually a former Navy SEAL, Special Forces, this, that, or the other thing. That's the equivalent of me saying, because I have Jordans, I should go on TV and I should talk about playing basketball. They're an end user. That doesn't mean they know anything about gun rights. That doesn't mean they know anything about how a firearm's manufactured or what goes on in a manufacturing plant or any of the above. And that's not to knock it. It's just who's vetting this. And if you're vetting it from that lens of it being, you know, I'm going to put a Navy SEAL up, it's almost like a slap in the face. Like, we're just going to put this person up there because that makes sense. Well, the next time they're doing, you know, next time on ESPN when John Sally's doing an interview, because I own Jordans, I should probably be a part of that NBA interview, right?
Well, I think you were talking about, like, you know, the people that these industries put on to rep them, and they don't really care about what they're talking about. They're just doing it. I mean, part of it's just on the other end, right? They're those people who are putting those people to represent and also, but know that they don't really care about. They're usually the same people. They usually are there just for their own financial gain as well. They don't really care about rights that we're trying to push out. So that's one thing too, is this on both ends of the spectrum of that whole line, right? There's the industry leader who's really there for a paycheck, and then there's the representative that they put on that's also really there for.
I just want to see it be all inclusive. I want to see more of the inclusive representation at that level, at the national level.
Can I ask you a question?
Shoot.
What does inclusive mean to you?
So to me, it means if you're having a conversation about gun rights, okay, let's say it's on Tucker Carlson, for example, or you're having a conversation around a particular topic, bring on an expert around that topic. Don't bring on someone just because they were this, so you identify them with that. Because right. Just because you're black, do you identify with slavery? Do you know everything about it? No, I mean, you know, and that's a real reality. You may have stories, and I'm not trying to discount it, but just because you're X, like, I could speak very eloquently about running a gun manufacturer. I could speak about an FFL. I could talk about who the customers are and what they look like, the marketing around the industry. I know a lot about those things. I don't necessarily know. I don't know anything about war. So if it's something about a military side, then by all means, that makes sense. But we're constantly putting the wrong people in front of the camera, which is causing us half of our problems because the talking points don't really line up. They're all separate issues. Right. Okay. The fact that firearms are manufactured for war is one thing. The fact that they're manufactured for civilians is one thing. The fact that they're manufactured for you is one thing. A female who maybe wants to defend herself, right? These are all different groups. They're all very different conversations. There's very different passions behind them. Some guys get out of the military. They never want to see a gun again. They don't want to own one. They didn't even carry one in the military. Some guys get out of law enforcement, you know, and I know something about that, and they step away from that life, and maybe they have a gun and it goes in a safe and they don't ever look at it again. You know, so everybody is different. So to me, inclusion means at least vet the topic and vet the person in relation to the topic. Because I see so many people come on a national talk show or something, and they're pumping a book or they're pushing a narrative or they're pushing something else, and it doesn't help our cause, and that's my concern. A lot of people don't realize this, right? How little is this talked about? 90% of your FFLs, 95% of your FFLs out there are very small family-owned businesses. You know that. You're on the ground. You see them. They're very small family-owned businesses. When those businesses are squeezed or they go out of business, I know because I know some of them. They go out of business. You know, we all know these common sense things, right? Most of the deaths from firearms are what we call murder-suicide. And most of those people we know die alone and by themselves. And it's a tough topic. And that's a whole separate problem. We know that that's a mental health issue. All these things require the right person and the right expertise to talk about them. So inclusion to me is including the right people to have those conversations about those topics as an industry. And we don't do a great job of that. And Fox News doesn't do a great job of that. And Newsmax doesn't do it. So let's grab Colonel whoever. Right.
People will believe him. And that's the thing. And yeah, being in the campus carry movement, especially in the beginning, helped me realize that a lot, particularly with professors, right? Because they would go on as anti-gun, and just because of the professor, right? Everybody's going to listen to them, and anything they say is correct. And a lot of people, I would just be listening to them, and I'm like, you didn't read the bill. Like, you're opposed to something that you don't even know what you're talking about. That 18-year-olds are not even involved in this, and you're talking about, I don't want to teach freshman classes. Like, maybe you don't want to teach. Okay, maybe if you said you're a junior or senior teacher, you're like, that'd be different. But like things like that. But people don't even question that, like on the other end, because they're professors. They know everything. They know they're experts in every single topic. And I think that's what you're saying is that we, the people, though, are sometimes lazy.
Yeah,
and we don't do our homework on that.
I just would like to see, with all these folks coming into the industry and making themselves known, Maj, you, the female contingent, a lot of the females that have come into the business the last 5-8 years, and are being vocal. I wish, like, anytime a campus issue comes up, you should be talking. You should be the voice. And whoever else has expertise in that space. Because that's what's going to solidify us. You don't put somebody on to talk about something when it's not a topic that they're well versed in, or it's not the talking points that they're bringing up might be irrelevant. And I think that's hurt us as an industry for too long. Just like, as I was getting at earlier, the depiction of our industry is an Instagram clip of someone drawing a gun in 1 second and shooting a target.
All right.
That's why I started this podcast. That's part of the reason, is to put a voice and a conversation behind a lot of people that care about their own capabilities, being more defense inclined, whether it's martial arts, whether it's shooting, whether it's self-defense, and just have those conversations so people could listen and walk away and say, I really like Antonia. That's a good person. I'm okay with her carrying a gun if that makes her feel safer.
Right.
And having that dialogue. But we don't do that enough in our industry. We don't put the right people in front of the podium when it's time to have those conversations.
Yeah, and I mean, and I think it's always your end game, right? Like, my end game is on my deathbed, if I have empowered more women, or even, if I helped one woman be able to get out of a situation, or not even be in the situation in the first place where she's going to be a survivor. I don't want any more survivors, right? I don't want people to go through these things that I went through. And I have a purpose, and I feel like if that at my deathbed is what my goal was, and I actually reached that to a point, then I'm happy. But there are other people who have different goals. Not saying they're bad. I mean, it's not bad to have food on the table and stuff like that. But it is going to make a big difference, and you're going to see that difference based on the work that they're putting in and what type of work they're putting in. Maj, this is legit for him. Like, and you see that. I think people see how authentic he is.
Oh, I was so, yeah, he's as real as they come. I mean, I think some of the work he's doing, I think there's a lot of great people out there doing great work, and I just want to see the industry come together in a way that it galvanizes, and we understand if something pops up, hey, we got to talk to Antonia about that. She's the person to bring in for this issue, whatever that is. Maj is the person to bring in for this. Maybe an executive from the industry is the person for that, whatever the issue is. But we got to be better about that. It's not just about the gun. It's not just about this. There's a lot of motivating factors behind the things that we do in terms of our own self-defense, our own safety, why we take care of ourselves. Your story is different from my story, is different from the next person's story, is different from the next person. Right. The left would love for it to be, it's a black rifle and it's bad. They want it to be that. It's simpler that way.
Right.
The more it becomes complex, like COVID hits, right? And everybody and their mother and their aunt goes out and buys a gun, right? So we don't know the number. People who say they know the number, we don't know the number. They say it's 8 million new gun owners. They say it's 2 million. We know the NICS checks.
Right.
We don't necessarily know how many. And there's a lot of guns out there. And they don't know who that voting bloc is. This is the key now for everybody listening. This is kind of what I'm getting at least. And I know you'll touch on, when the left doesn't know what that voting bloc is, it scares them. Yep. And that's why you see them kind of being cagey. Oh, we could use an executive order, but we're not going to right now. Soon. Yeah, right. Maybe. We could pass this universal background check, which we've had universal background checks for forever. Or we could pass this other law, which totally violates HIPAA and is a whole nother story. We're not going to go there. But, they're kind of cagey about it, is the point, about what they want to go after and whether or not they can even get it. The sooner we come together as a group and start to all individualize our stories, but talk in a cohesive unit and say, this is why I value my self-defense. This is why you value yours. This is why the next person, so on and so forth. The more they start to see it as a larger entity, and it scares them because that's votes.
Well, we're not a monolith. And the same thing with the same thing, like when I tell people like Maj and I, like, look, we're both not, I shouldn't be the head of urban ministry, like urban, outreach, because I grew up in Carrollton, Texas. It's like 80-90% white. Have you heard me talk? Like stuff like that. I'm not Maj Touré, right? Like, so we're, as black people though, like people want to lump us in, like, oh, you know how to talk about black people? Here you go. Talk about Philly. Like, like things like that. But Maj and I talk about all the time, like, there are different people that I'm going to talk to. Might talk to people who go to Spelman and Morehouse more so than he's going to talk to somebody like that. So even within that, like you were saying, like just because you're a veteran or just because like doesn't mean you're going to know. We got to throw out the just because, everything, right? You need an expert in that. Maj should talk about that, and he is, and he's staying in his lane. I used to hate that. But I understand it in the fact that it's not about, it's restricting you. It's about empowering you, because the more I've stayed in my lane, the more I've been able to learn, and the more I can empower other people with my knowledge instead of trying to act like I know every single little bit of everything.
Let me ask you this. What makes Gun Owners of America different?
Why do I always get that question?
No, I gotta ask because because everybody knows on this show, I've talked about the disasters of the NRA, some of the holdbacks of the NSSF. What makes the GOA different?
Who is sponsoring Guns Out TV? Is it the NRA?
No. Get to the point. Come on, don't be cagey. I know where you're going. Just get there.
Okay, fine. The point is that, well, there's so many different points. First of all, I was going to go back to when I was just, nobody knew about me. I was a student and I was pushing for campus carry. As much as people want to be like, oh yeah, everyone knows that makes total sense. There are people not too long ago who thought I was crazy in the gun world.
Sure.
Because I wanted to give guns to students. Like, that was too much for people. GOA's they've always been no compromise. And that means being against the grain when even the gun world, the mainstream gun world, thinks that you're a nut for having to, think that students can have rights just like anybody else. So things like that. That's just one of the different ways to differentiate them between other
supporting
groups.
The out the box mentality. Mm-hmm. And listen, it's
pretty clear.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think we've said this on this show. I think the gun industry for a long time's needed an enema. It needs a lot of change. I've said it to the guys from Guns Out when they were on. I've said it to Maj. We've all talked about it. You and I have talked about it offline on here. I think having a group, whether it's Firearms Policy, whether it's Gun Owners of America, all these different groups are good things. And I asked a couple key executives this, that have been on the show, where's the best place to put your money? And a lot of them don't know anymore. And that tells me a lot about where the industry is. And, one thing that the NRA did very well at one point was having things like NRA TV, was controlling the narrative, was having different media outlets and doing their best to at least put stuff out there, put content out there, because content today is the commodity. And you have to be able to put content out there that's supportive, that helps move the narrative forward, move the conversation forward around the things that we're passionate about. Because if we don't do that, then a lot of these bills and laws get passed kind of in the dark, where it's like, if you don't bring light to it that this is going on, or they're coming for this, or they're coming for that, then we're in trouble, right? So everybody needs to be passionate about the particular thing that they're passionate about, whether it's campus carry, whether it's national reciprocity, whatever the issue. And we need groups that support those out of the box things and in the box things. Right. One of the failures going on right now, I feel, is the paying attention to the mid-level picture and supporting that and getting more outreach to college campuses, more outreach to the FFLs, especially the FFLs, because I'm a huge advocate of the FFLs. The FFLs are like outposts for our industry. I can name a million of my friends that still go and hang out at FFLs, you know. Those are all things that make sense to me. And I think if we could do a better job putting content into those spheres of influence and actually educating people and letting people know what's going on, we'd be a lot better off. But we don't as an industry. So how do you bring all that together? That's the $1 million question. It's very hard to do. So some of the best movements are some of the Instagram, social media, YouTube pages that we've all created or we've all pushed. And that's terrifying to me, because I would love to see a larger group take a larger stance on helping craft some of the conversation. And to me, what they're doing is very archaic and very slow and not changing with the times. And there's too many old white guys in charge, in my opinion. It's been my opinion for a long time. I think they need to get into streaming. I think they need to get into developing some type of paywall. I think they need to get supportive of a lot of the initiatives that people are doing, like yourself, yesterday, because we're moving too slow and the left is way better organized.
Well, the left sees the long game so well. They do. And the right doesn't. And I'm going to say that this is how I know this, because I've pitched over and over and over again and asked for Empowered. It was GOA who finally picked up Empowered, but I think some people know about my story with NRA. I did NRA stuff with them for a while. I saw what NRA did to Maj.
I offered them the show for free.
Yeah. I saw what they did to Maj. I saw what they, like, anyways, by the way, so going into, like, Empowered, like, people will tell you to your face, oh, yeah, that's a great idea, but that doesn't make money. That niche, it's a little, women, is that going to be a really big segment? Come on. Like, it comes down to the best advocates of the people who are them, right? I'm a woman. I'm going to advocate for that most. Why? Because that is personal to me. Like, I know what it means to be a woman. I know why I got into to being anti-gun and being a advocate. My friend Rachel Malone, Texas director of Gun Owners of America, also was an avid anti-gunner until she now is, like, pushing for constitutional carry in Texas right now. Like, that's one thing that upsets me so much, is that we see these people and we make them the enemy, but I was the enemy at one point. And if I didn't have those people who are like, you know what, I'm going to teach you. I'm going to take you under my wing. You haven't shot, you're 25 years old and you never shot a gun before. I'm going to give you some free lessons and I'm going to help you learn about firearms. I'm going to show you that it's not something to fear. I know all you've seen about firearms is something in the hands of an evil person. I'm going to be someone who's white and male and actually take you under my wing and teach you. And those are those people, those individual experiences that are going to get people out of whatever block or whatever haze they are in about guns, and then realize that guns are only based on the person that utilizes them. And so, anyways, all that to say is that we have to stop being afraid of seeing the long game. Yeah, we might not get paid in the beginning, might not get money, might not be a good industry decision for
ramen noodles. Yeah.
Well, I think you're going to tell me I don't know about ramen noodles, but I feel like I'm going to get a story soon. But, like, that alone, like, people just don't want to get into that space, but yet they're winning the narrative because they've stuck to their guns essentially for so long that they've been able to control the narrative, and we're trying to, like, always react and
it's all about the fear tactic, of course.
At the end, of course, they're not going to win.
My thing, Antonia, is it's always every time you see a congressperson or anybody on the left speak, they hold up a black gun, they'll hold something up and they'll say, this is this, right? It's a toy, by the way. It's polymer. But they'll say, this is this. I don't even know why it's there, but they'll say, this is this. And they demonize that because we have not done a great job as an industry, as a group, as supporters of the Second Amendment, of stepping up and saying, this is who we are. As opposed to making it the black rifle, the this. It's the only industry in the world that uses a symbol versus a voice or a story or shaping that culture, that narrative. Why? I could tell you why. Because the industry's been dominated by shoot fast videos, mag dumps in a desert, cool kid videos.
Those get views.
Those get views. Those get them hits.
Yeah.
Do it for the gram. Everybody does it for that. Instead of educating people maybe why we have that right, maybe why that exists in the first place, why we need to fight for it, why it makes sense. Just like you said at the beginning of this, every society that's been stripped of that right, it's not ended well for them. Every group that's been stripped of that right, it's not ended well for them. Groups that don't support that right, it doesn't make sense, just like you talked about, and it doesn't add up. If you educate a lot of people on that and you show them historical data, empirical data, they're going to be like, wow, I didn't realize that. Because who wouldn't, right? You'd be a fool not to. Now, it might not be for you, right? Self-defense, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, shooting, might not be for you. It might not be. That's just a real reality. Doesn't mean you don't respect it. It doesn't mean you don't, you need the second to protect the first, like they said. And the first is under as big of an assault as anything right now. With cancel Karens running around out there and I think cancel culture is really starting to backfire right now. That's my theory. I think it's really starting to backfire on a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that was inevitable.
The whole cancel culture thing is like, there's nothing new under the sun. That's
cancel Karens.
Ecclesiastes. There's nothing new under the sun. There's always been cancel culture in my belief, but I think that's part of it too. Is just that, and you know what? And the people who like complain about cancel culture sometimes are usually the biggest cancelers. They really are. They're like, oh yeah, cancel culture. I was canceled. It's like, all right, let me look at your posts from a few years ago.
I don't disagree.
You're canceling so many people.
I don't disagree with you. I would say this: the problem with cancel culture is anytime you get, it's always someone trying to shine a light off of them, and it backfires in so many ways, and it's starting to backfire a lot now. We're seeing it with the Gina Carano issue in in Hollywood, Florida, in Hollywood. Particularly as it pertains to Disney Plus and the lack of toy sales and everything else. The age-old saying is, get woke, go broke. So it's kind of it's going to backfire because at the end of the day, writing movies, stuff in Hollywood in particular, and I'll stay there for a second. It's always been about the hero's journey. The hero just has to be a hero we can all identify with, and it's cool. If we can't identify with them and we don't think it's cool, we ain't gonna watch it. We ain't gonna buy a ticket. We're not gonna buy popcorn. So, at the end of the day, no matter how many times you try to inject a narrative into the situation or to invoke some type of thought process, it never ends well because nobody likes to be force-fed anything. So when we go into this mindset of like, we'll just get a bunch of Twitter handles to tweet to cancel somebody, it creates this like, what are we doing here? Like, it's at the point where we're canceling or trying to shut people down for nonsense at this point. Is it relevant? Is it not relevant? I'm not heads or tails of it, but it goes on in the gun industry. It goes on in every industry across the board. There's endless amounts of people that are constantly trying to be heard, and that's what it's all about. Right. They have what I want, so I'm going to try and take it from them. And if I can't take it from them, I'm going to try and hurt them.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
And that's it in a nutshell to me.
And it's so disingenuous. I was just this morning, I was looking on before I got here. They're trying to cancel Captain Underpants.
What is Captain Underpants?
No, you don't know what Captain Underpants is? Oh, come on.
Can we look that up? What is Captain Underpants?
Look it up right now.
Captain Underpants. No, go tell the story.
Okay, Captain Underpants is under attack, guys. I want you guys to know this.
Oh, this is awesome.
You guys need to rally up around him right now. The thing is, Captain Underpants has been around since I was a kid. I'm pretty sure it's a lot later than that. But are you looking at it now?
Yeah, that's a real thing.
That's a huge book.
Yeah, Captain Underpants.
Captain Underpants. Yeah, they're trying to cancel
What do you got up there, Rory?
Because he has Asian depictions of Asian people or culture that people are deemed offensive now. But the thing is, it's deemed offensive now because of what's going on, right? Because suddenly it's the cool thing to do to talk about talking about Asian hate, right? Talking about how things are bad. Obviously, this has been happening forever, decades, or centuries rather. But now that's what people are going to pick up on, and so people can talk about it. So it's like mass shootings. I was telling someone, did we have mass shootings last year? Of course we did. It wasn't popular enough. It didn't make headlines enough for the news to pick it up. And so, anyways, all disingenuous. Captain Underpants, totally a real thing.
Did I miss a decade, Rory? Is
I'm still trying to understand this term that I just read called passive racism.
Is that through the?
Is this new? Am I missing this?
No.
I've never heard the term before in my life.
Captain, I'm looking at pictures of Captain Underpants now, and to anybody listening, I don't want to violate copyright or anything, so just go check out Captain Underpants. Go check out Yeah.
Millennial culture, yeah.
Wow.
It will not be.
My mind's blown. But Mr. Potato Head was the one that was the big one for me. I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me, So to me, cancel culture is destined to backfire in the end, for whomever puts it out there. And we all have our theories about who those people are that want to cancel people. I think that's a Twitter thing. And I think somewhere Jack is laughing at all this because at the end of the day, whether it's Jack or I've said this before, whether it's Jack or Zuckerberg, I don't think they're Democrats. I think they're anarchists. And I think they just love the chaos and they want to sit back and some people just want to see the world burn. I don't think they're Democrats or Republicans. I legitimately don't. I think Jack is sitting in Costa Rica laughing at all this. And we allow him to do it. And that's the sad part about Congress, about the people we elect. They allow it.
Why did he decide suddenly after Trump was no longer president to decide to ban him then? Because it was making way too much money off of Trump. He would be nothing without Trump tweeting and people getting upset for one way or the other.
Well, because it would generate activity, and it's all about headlines,
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, they should be subject to the same legalities as publishers, in my humble opinion, and they should open themselves up to that. I'm a big advocate, as a lot of people know, and I've gotten into arguments with very powerful people about this. I think everybody should use their real name on Twitter. I think everyone should be forced to use their real name or on any social media or use their business name. You shouldn't be able to hide behind a fake handle, a fake IP or whatever.
Will they verify you if it's not?
I don't know the answer to that. You'd know better.
I had to give a ID in order to get to that level.
Do you know the answer to that, Rory?
Yeah, I think now they are charging, or not charging, but they are asking for an ID and even some other forms of
So you have to be you.
I've heard of some people even getting asked for 2 forms of identification, like a passport.
But you don't need one to vote.
Oh.
That was for free, guys.
Mind
Did not do that.
Blown. Blown.
So speaking of Georgia.
We should just end it there. No, go ahead.
No, I'm just the whole uproar right now.
Before we get off the cancel culture thing,
You got
this
more?
book was from 2010.
Oh.
Captain Underpants. I'm going to have to do major research after this. My mind just got blown.
Yeah.
But I don't even understand that, how they go back in time and they say, we're going to make this relevant now, today, because it matters today. Like, let's burn books. Captain Underpants. We're coming for you. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, exactly.
Bill Maher has actually spoken out against a lot of this stuff, which is interesting. And I think he could end up being a very powerful bridge, especially in the cancel culture game, because he has said some common sense things like, what are we doing here? And we're wasting a lot of time, effort, and energy and bandwidth on some really dumb shit, in my opinion. Some really dumb shit. I get it. And we talked about this earlier. If somebody steps out of line and says some shit and they work for a company and you have to deal with that, right? Like the repercussions of that.
Yeah.
I think we all get that. But like to hold people's feet to the fire, like what happened with Gina Carano as an example, that is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, that is ridiculous on a level of ridiculousness that I can't even wrap my head around.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and it makes no sense to me. So if you could, I want to ask you this.
Okay.
If you could change or do one thing, you had all the money in the world, all the resources in the world to affect the industry, what would it be?
Ooh. One thing.
Well, I mean, don't give me the we are the world answer, but
Oh, no. I'm just like, there's so many things though.
if you could snap
If
your
I had
fingers and
all
get it
the
done.
money, I would self-fund the people that I would want to be more want to be out there more. I would I would give them I hate because that's and then
like
I become
build a
the industry.
platform,
right? I would give them the money to do their own thing.
Yeah.
I would stop thinking organizations are the way to go when it comes to things. At the end of the day, like even I will become someone who wants a certain way of things to happen. And so I'm squashing someone else's creativity. Like if I imagine me funding Monterey. Oh, he would not be, he would not be cursing as much as he does.
That language.
And that would be horrible for the gun industry. So I want more people to be who they are, and they're people who just feel like they have to decide between like living. And there was a time when I had to work for I'm gonna get flack for this. Look, it's the only one they had in Colorado. I had to work for Starbucks for a time because I was trying to do my own thing, right? Like, I mean, just like any other, it's not different than other small business owners or entrepreneurs, but it was because there was something that I believed in so passionately that wasn't mainstream, and people said no constantly over and over again. And it comes down to, you need the funding to live. People are not even at that spot. And so I would be, if I had all the money in the world, I would fund those people, no strings attached, give it to them and allow them to do their own thing in this industry.
That's a noble thing. And part of the issue with platforms we've built or attempted to build, whether it's Parler or even now Rumble, I said this, we present them and we build them as echo chambers. And that's part of the problem. You have to present them and build them as, this is a place to host your media, and just create it as such. I've had my issues with Rumble in terms of its reach and how it's constructed. Parler was the same way. Creating echo chambers isn't necessarily the answer. So I love that plan of just building a platform where people can be heard. Whatever the platform is a great thing. I think it's easy to say, like, you have a genie, you have a lamp, you rub it, and you have like 3 wishes, right? And you wish for the industry. I just hope that someday a lot of people realize, and if they take one thing away from even being on this show and walking around and seeing the pictures and seeing the people, that they realize that there's a lot of supporters of this industry. They just don't know how to support, and they don't know the way to support, or they don't necessarily know, because they don't all identify with doing a mag dump in a desert, or they don't all identify with a shoot fast video, or they don't identify necessarily with being a political loud person. You know what I mean?
Right.
But we have to be more inclusive. And one of the things I said about the left being more organized is, it's true. They have more of, like you said, a long tail understanding of where to go and how to make the narrative about one particular thing and demonizing that one particular thing, and they're good at it. We have to be better about saying we are a group and we see things this way, and convey that message instead of it just being about, hey, rat-a-tat-tat or this or that, and be more about having a conversation. And I think once people do have a conversation, because you said it the best, we're not a monolith, and we're not a group that some things just don't make sense, like feminists should support. It would make all the sense in the world, right? It would. And just having that conversation as to why, if I had a feminist sitting in this room, why are you against that? What's the reason? And just have that conversation. Yep. And we get it. The left likes to scream and pound the table, and we all get that. But their experiences maybe weren't yours, like we said. Maybe they're not mine.
It's a lot of fear versus freedom, and not. I mean, I know a lot of people would say that right now with masks and everything, but I mean, I'm a for those who don't know, I'm a Christian believer, and I deal with fear in other ways, but that conversation of fear and freedom is such a big thing, and there's so many facets to it. But I just remember, like, if there's fear of having a conversation to even learn more, like there's a fear behind even talking to somebody who's outside the industry. There's a fear where, like, people literally won't even allow you to, like, people are like, oh, well, why don't we have, you were talking about NRA TV. Well, the sad thing about NRA TV is that you had to be a member. You were already bought in, right? For the most part. It wasn't going to be shown on MSNBC, right?
Right.
It wasn't going to be shown on Vice. And probably the most impactful time I ever had with my message was when I said yes to going on Vice, and they did a documentary on Black conservatives or whatever. And I still get people to this day, when I was on BBC, I still get people to this day that are like, oh, you know what? I know they were trying to make you look like an idiot or whatever, but I got the nugget that you were talking about. And just thank you for just being willing to be looked like an idiot, because a lot of us know that they're going to try and make us try and look like an idiot. But if you are only there for one reason, I think you need to give people more credit than that they can see through that. They can see the authenticity behind people who are trying to do the right thing. And I think we need to stop being afraid of being in those spaces, because that's where people are at. If you want to really change hearts and minds, you're going to have to go into the lion's den.
The first one through always takes the hits.
Exactly.
And it doesn't pay to be right, it pays to be first.
Yep.
So sometimes you have to be willing to be the first through the door.
Right.
And
absolutely.
And have those conversations. That's why I think Bill Maher could be so powerful, especially in the cancel culture conversation. I don't think necessarily he'll ever come around in guns, but I think in the cancel culture conversation, people like him, like the Rubin Report, certain folks that are starting to speak up and say, this is stupid.
Right.
Like, what are we doing here? There's something there.
But unfortunately, usually they don't get that, right? All of that, the common denominator with a lot of that is that it happens to them. And then they're like, oh, I don't like this.
Right.
I don't like being on this end of things. Because it happened to me, because I'm so woke, like you said. I'm so woke that there's no way they could touch me. Oh, wow, they found a way. Okay, I don't like this woke thing.
This woke thing.
That's when they start realizing that. Oh, so.
The woke thing mainly pertains to Hollywood. It's mainly a Hollywood virtue signaling thing, as far as I see it. Because...
No, it's not. But go ahead.
No, you could say that's how I see it.
So much on my level all the time that
where
with other Black people who don't think I'm Black enough because I do the things that I do.
I could see that. I could see that. But I'm saying what I'm getting at is it plays out in Hollywood. They want it to play out in Hollywood because they believe if we consume it there, we'll start to be okay with it, right? And they're trying to feed it to us. I'm talking more about that. I get what you're saying. I'm talking about the media.
A mass stage is what you're saying. Mass platform of Hollywood. Right.
Yeah.
You're right.
But I get what you're saying. But what I'm saying is the delivery system to which we're being fed it.
Okay.
So Hollywood is the place. I can deal with people telling me I'm not woke enough or I don't understand this or I don't understand because I don't give a fuck. I really don't. But the reality is in Hollywood there's a battle going on that's a culture war between people that want to depict certain narratives in movies so we consume it. And as we consume it, we start to become a little bit more okay with it. Like we're okay with this. What I get a kick out of is such a large percentage of Hollywood movies have guns in them. Because the moment you inject a firearm into the situation in a movie, it instantly creates drama. It's the easiest way for a writer to create drama, right? In a scenario or in a scene. But you get people like Liam Neeson that is so anti-gun. Motherfucker, you made your money. An entire lifetime based on that.
Your daughter would have been dead without that gun.
That's unbelievable that you just said that. Oh, that was perfect. But it's true. And that's what you have going on in Hollywood. And that's where the term get woke, go broke comes from, because they're trying to force feed these narratives. Now, I don't have a problem with certain ones. I really don't. Shit. For years, anyone who knows me knows one of my favorite all-time heroes in a movie was Sigourney Weaver in Aliens. Hands down. I fucking loved her. I loved her in Alien. I loved her in Aliens. And that was, what, Rory, 84?
Oh.
Yeah. And anyone who knows me knows I love that movie. That wasn't woke. That was a legitimately well-written hero in a movie. Had nothing to do with woke. Every male on the spaceship died, right? In the first one.
Sounds pretty woke.
In the second one lived.
Oh.
I think. So,
Token
yeah. But just write good stories and don't worry about forcing something in there. And that's part of the problem that's going on in Hollywood. That's why I say it plays out heavy in Hollywood.
Oh, yeah. Well, especially with like rewriting all of the Disney movies. So we always have, we're gonna like Aladdin, like, it's the feminist narrative.
Pepe Le Pew.
Good job. Oh man, that's a whole.
He got canceled too. The poor guy. So.
Yeah, someone said it best, and I mean, I think Hollywood is one of the most racist pushing of prejudice and stereotype. I mean, that's what it makes it so hypocritical with the whole woke culture of Hollywood, is that they are literally the reason why there is anything that has to be pushed to change. Because why is it that we still, to this day, anything about a black, and other black people are making fun of it a little bit more, but it's like any Oscar-worthy type of movie that pertains to African Americans is usually like slavery, civil rights. That's the only thing. Slavery and civil rights, as if that's the only thing that we have an association with, like, is all of the oppression stories of African Americans, right? Or even with guns, like, only time you're going to see, for the most part, you're not going to see an African American male hero that is using guns for the right reasons, usually for the stereotypical type of
the one I'm willing to accept though is Denzel in Training Day. He was fucking awesome in that. I know, but he was really good in that.
What do they call those? The ones that, like, that there's like House of Cards, where he's the bad guy.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, but he like, that was some fucking good acting though.
Yeah, okay, good acting, but it doesn't help the portrayal.
No, you're 100% right. But
yet the same people are like, look, you can't have a gun, black men and women, because you're going to be killed with that fire.
And what I liked about what I liked about Training Day was, selfishly, Denzel never plays the bad guy, and he did. But I'm a huge fan of Point Break for that reason, because we finally got Patrick Swayze as a bad guy. So I like to see, like, guys who are always the hero play the bad guy once. And Denzel was superb in that, though. But I 100% agree with what you're saying.
For the culture, though.
Yeah, for the culture, of course. But Denzel was fucking good in that movie.
Okay, yeah. We'll give you that.
He was fucking really good. Anyone who hasn't seen Training Day, go see it. But, yeah. Listen, you got to get on a plane. We're going on and on. It's been an hour and 20 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, we got to do this again.
We do got to do this again. I'm always up and down for coming over here. And the Trump Hotel. I mean, goodness.
I know. Shout out to the Trump Hotel.
Guys, even if you don't like Trump, you got to admit.
If you haven't been to the Trump in D.C., that hotel is freaking unbelievable. Anybody who says otherwise is crazy.
Trump Hotel. Okay? I've been in a lot of hotels. That sounds bad. But.
I've been in a lot of hotels, but. That doesn't sound bad. Sounds like a good life.
Oh, okay.
Room service and someone makes your bed for you. That's the best life.
Yeah, well, except for in this COVID world.
It's true.
There's no such thing as room service anymore.
I know.
Or a housekeeping.
Or a pool.
That too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't even got into COVID. That's a whole nother show. Let everybody know where they can find you, how they can reach you, and how they can get in touch with you and support you.
Yeah. So you guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram on at Antonia _Okafor, OKAFOR. Also, I have this new podcast.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to the podcast, Ricochet Network, right?
Yeah, Ricochet Network, called Bulletproof. So you guys can look that up, Bulletproof. Subscribe, get those like reviews out there, because there are definitely bulletproof titles out there that have nothing to do with guns, obviously. But, the left loves to use our culture when it suits them. Anyway, so yeah, subscribe, listen, rate, Bulletproof with Antonia Okafor.
I'm gonna leave a review right after this.
Oh, thank you.
I will. No, immediately.
Hopefully a good one.
4 stars. Little hate. Little shade. I'll throw some shade. I'll throw 3 stars.
No one's perfect.
Yeah, no.
Hey, thanks for going on my
Captain
show,
Underpants.
Please rate 5-star. Yeah, Captain Underpants.
That's how I'm going to leave it.
Yes.
So, listen, go check out everything Antonia is doing. I got to get her on a plane. So, I appreciate her stopping by, and I appreciate her taking the time to support the show. And she'll be back. You got to be back. Yeah. And so much more to get into. And shout out to all the sponsors. Special thanks to all the sponsors, and thank them. And go to the website, www.johnbartoloshow.com. There's a complete list there. And remember to leave reviews. Take us out.